You're probably reading a lot about the fact that Philadelphia has almost 18 internal free agents this offseason, and there's no way they're going to be able to afford them. Howie Roseman can't possibly re-sign all of them. Well, we're going to debunk the myth that Philadelphia has very little cap space this offseason and tell you which players they should keep, which players they should let go, and which players they might want to keep in the end. I'm Thomas Mott. This is The Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Thursday. I have been teasing this kind of show for a very long time, but now that the season, unfortunately, is officially over, we must turn our faces towards the future, aka this offseason, and Philadelphia has a bunch of in-house free agents, so we're going to go ahead and go through every single one of them, tell you if they should re-sign them, if they should not re-sign them with a handy-dandy tier ranking list, as well as break down the cap space situation that Philadelphia is currently in and what they can do to restructure some contracts in order to create some more money. So thumbs up, buckle in. Let's go ahead and start with this. So if you were to just Google NFL team salary cap tracker, you'd probably go to Over the Cap or Sport Track right here, and it would show you currently where each team is in terms of total cap space. And you go, okay, let's have a look here. Where's Philadelphia? Oh, Chicago, a lot of money, $97 million. Atlanta, $56 million. The Raiders, $46 million. Philly is 17th, negative $1.283 million. Thomas, they have no money. They can't re-sign anybody. And I'd say, whoa, these websites are not 100% accurate all of the time because they don't take into consideration contract extensions. They don't take into consideration restructuring, bonuses, and that sort of thing. And so what you need to do is go to somebody you trust who actually crunches all of the numbers and realize where Philadelphia is currently at in the total cap space. By the way, let me just show you, even if they were right at negative 1.28, they still are nowhere near as bad as the Bucks and the Jaguars and the Titans and the Packers if you were to go by the Sport Track website. Now, Thomas R. Peterson is a trusted, I would say, Eagles source on Twitter, and he broke down the Eagles cap space recently and had this to say. Currently, the Eagles have $8 million in cap space, and that includes Jason Kelce's $11.5 million cap hit if he chooses to stay, because Kelce kind of has the option to go ahead and basically re-sign. They can open upwards of an additional $25 million by restructuring Slay, Lane Johnson, and Jake Elliott. That's potentially $33 million in cap space, including Kelce, hashtag Eagles per over the cap. And so again, the emphasis here is not to tell you that, oh, I know exactly how much money they're going to have March 17th when the NFL new league year starts, but we give you a guesstimation. And my guess is they will do all of these things, therefore opening up at least $20 million in cap space. They will not be in the negative. They're not going to be a scenario where they can't re-sign anybody. If they do these restructuring, and depending on what Kelce does, which we will talk about, they are going to have plenty of money to make some moves, both externally, go sign somebody, which we'll talk about in future shows, and internally as well. So thumbs up for that. So that leads me over here, this handy-dandy tiermaker.com, where I have assembled all 16, 17 of the Eagles free agents currently on their roster going into 2023 and made a keep list, a maybe keep list, and a let go. These are the guys I would for sure re-sign. These are the guys I would maybe re-sign, and these are the guys I would 100% let go. Here they all are. I think I have them all here. I try to get all the pictures good to go. So let's just go one by one. I'll tell you who I would for sure keep, who's a maybe keep, and who I would let go. And I'm going to try to do this thinking in terms of money-wise. The Eagles have about $20 to $25 million by the time we get here, which I just explained to you. So let's make it very, very simple and start off with the for sure keep. Gardner-Johnson, 100% is the number one priority this offseason. In my opinion, of all the internal free agents, he is priority number one. You must re-sign Gardner-Johnson. Now, I would also try to re-sign Javon Hargrave, and I know what you're saying. Thomas, Javon Hargrave is expensive. $13 million was his cap hit, or his total price, I should say, based off Sport Track in 2022. I know some team is going to offer Javon Hargrave a ton of money, but Philadelphia, if they're smart, should try and keep him because he's one of the better interior defensive tackles in the National Football League. If you're ticking between one of these two, I would take Gardner-Johnson because you did draft Jordan Davis in the first round for a reason, but my hope is these are your number one and number 1B priorities right now for Philadelphia going forward. I would also throw Jason Kelce up here, but it's not necessarily an Eagle decision, it's a Kelce decision. So I would assume that he's going to come back. I think he is going to come back, which we'll talk about in future shows, but I would assume that he is going to be on this list as well. Everybody else, as you go through here, is a maybe keep or a let go. These are the three must keeps. Period. The three must-keeps, or at least the top priorities for Philadelphia, in my opinion. A maybe keep, a great example is Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham, he's not necessarily that expensive. I know he was $13.3 million this year. I think you can get him for a little bit cheaper on a more cheaper team-friendly deal. Now, if Atlanta offers him $15 million a year on a 2-year contract, would he take that? I don't know, but I think BG wants to run it back one more time. I put him on the maybe keep list because he is getting older. I know he was fantastic this year, but he's a little bit too old for me to put him on a must re-sign over guys like Kelsey and Hargrave and CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't want to be controversial with BG. We love BG. The guy's a legend, but let's just put this into perspective, assuming they have about $20 million in cap space. I do think that we're getting to a point here where you can let go of Fletcher Cox. I like Fletcher Cox. I think if Fletcher Cox wanted to take a team-friendly deal, then he could go ahead and re-sign with Philadelphia, but he's not going to take a team-friendly deal. Someone's going to offer him a bunch of money on a 3-year deal, and he's going to go finish out one final contract, maybe someplace good, maybe someplace bad, who knows, but I think you're going to let Fletcher Cox go. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I do think you let Fletcher Cox go. Okay, moving over here to I'm going to say a keep. I'm going to say TJ Edwards is a keep. Now, he could be a maybe keep. What you have to understand about TJ Edwards is he's not that expensive because he was an undrafted free agent. He's worked his butt off to get to where he is, and besides the Super Bowl, played very well this season. Was the best middle linebacker Philly's had in maybe the past 10 years. Now, again, could they let him go? Yes, but I think Eagle fans need to understand that there's not just Roquan Smith sitting out there for the Eagles to go get. There's no Ray Lewis for Philadelphia to go grab. I think that at middle linebacker, he's your best option. I would try to keep him if you can afford it. Linval Joseph, we appreciate what you did this year. You already let go. Same with Ndamukong Suh. They can't afford him, and they're like 50 years old. Robert Quinn, come on. That one's easy. He's obviously going to the let go category. I would throw Kazir White in the let go category as well, mainly because we all want Nakobe Dean to play. I think White was fine this year. I think he was better in the first half than the second half, but he's not really good enough for me to add him to another deal when we all know that Nakobe Dean can probably ball out and he's on a third round rookie contract, very cheap. I appreciate Kazir White. We tried to get you a ring, didn't work out, got to let you go. Gardner Minshew is a maybe keep. Now, you're going to say, Thomas, Gardner Minshew is not a maybe keep. Well, he is a maybe keep because they can either draft somebody in the later rounds to be the backup or offer Gardner Minshew a fair deal to come back and stay as the backup to Jalen Hurts with potential to play if Hurts gets injured and keep rolling that way. There is no football team out there that's going to sign Gardner Minshew to be their starting quarterback. The Jets aren't going to do it. The Bucs aren't going to do it. Like, no one's going to do that, and Gardner has to understand it. So we put him at maybe keep. It's good if he stays. It's good if he leaves. Doesn't really matter either way. Zach Pascal, it's tough. I would rather have Pascal than Quez Watkins. And you say, Thomas, why? Well, I'm not wanting Zach Pascal as a receiving wide receiver. I want him as a blocking receiver. He's fantastic at blocking, and he's so darn cheap. Now, I put him at maybe because maybe you want to give Quez Watkins one final chance, and that's fine because he has shown potential at times, but he's dropped way too many passes in big games for me, and so I'd rather keep Pascal just because he run blocks so well, and he's cheap as a number 4 receiver. Maybe get a number 3 receiver at some point in the draft and work your new core that way. Andre Dillard, you let go. You let him be free because he's done his part in terms of being a very solid backup and needs a chance to be a starting, tackle in the National Football League. You get to Isaac Seumalo. Probably a maybe keep, but I really think it's going to go like this for Seumalo. I think someone's going to give Seumalo a boatload of money. He's going to walk, and Philadelphia's going to have to figure out the right guard position going forward, which is not that big of a deal. Cam Jurgens, I think, could fill that role. We're going to talk about that in a future show, but I would like to keep him. But I think most likely they aren't going to keep him, right? Most likely not going to keep him. Boston Scott, I'll put him in the keep category. I think you could go either here or here. I think he's so darn cheap and loves Philadelphia, and he's really helpful twice a year against the Giants. So I'm fine with putting him either here or here. I could see him again. You give him a 3-year deal for $2.5 million a year, and he's thrilled by that, and you keep him. Marcus Epps, to me, is not a keep. I think Epps, again, was much like Kazir White. Very good early, really didn't do much in the latter half. And I think Reed Blankenship and CJ Gardner-Johnson can fill up the safety position very, very well. I think the Eagles will look very hard at safety at number 10. I think corner, but I think the Eagles look very hard at safety at number 10. I just don't see this being really an option to bring him back unless they're desperate and need a safety, and then you could bring back a guy who is familiar. One guy missing is James Bradbury. I had a picture of him. I don't know where James Bradbury went. Bradbury is in the let-go category, and I think Bradbury got a bad rap this postseason. I think he still was a very good cornerback. I would keep him if you could afford him, but I don't think you can afford him. He made some money this year, and so I would spend number 10 overall at corner. That way you have Slay, who's still on a good contract, restructured this year probably, and then a rookie on the other side. That way you aren't paying big money to Bradbury, because you'd rather pay Bradbury's money to somebody up here in the keep category. Finally, we have Miles Sanders. What do you do with Miles Sanders? I have no idea. Literally no idea what to do with Miles Sanders. I love Miles Sanders, but they also hardly used Miles Sanders in the playoffs, and whether he was injured or not, we don't know. And so, to me, I think they're going to let him go. Personally, I think they're going to let Miles Sanders walk. I think they're going to roll with Kenny Gainwell. They're going to re-sign Boston Scott, and they're going to draft somebody in the 3rd or 4th round and roll with it that way. And honestly, it probably would work. But I also think Miles Sanders is a really good running back. And so I sit there and go, don't you want to keep him and make him the feature back 1,000-yard rusher this year? He comes off of a career season. I would put him in the keep category. But Again, I'm trying to tell you what I would do while also taking into account what the Eagles are going to do. And if I had to bet money, that's where he goes right there alongside the invisible James Bradbury right here. So your keep guys are these 5. I think these 3 are the most important keep guys. CJ Gardner-Johnson. Obviously, you get to Javon Hargrave, Jason Kelce. I think TJ Edwards and Boston Scott all can fit that list as well. Maybe keeps depends on contracts, and I think depends on need overall. Remember, Derek Barnett comes back from injury next year. He's under contract. He's not better than BG, but he's younger than BG, and BG might want more money. And I think all of these guys down here, there's not really an argument to keep any of them unless you want to go really cheap deal for Fletcher Cox because he wants to be an Eagle, and unless they actually value Miles Sanders a lot higher than I think that they value him. So that's my best guess, and I don't think I missed anybody. I can go over here and see if I missed somebody. I missed Rick Lovato. I would keep Rick Lovato. He's fine. He cost less than $1 million this past year, so fine with Rick Lovato. Other than that, Tyree Jackson's like a special version of a restricted free agent, so he didn't make the list. But everybody else here, I did get on the list, and I think that I absolutely nailed it. So take a screenshot. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, but I want to know your guys' thoughts here. Make me a category list. Keep, maybe keep, let go. This is a very, very fun overall tier maker. I will go ahead and save this on tiermaker.com if you guys want to go ahead and try and make your own tiers, but I think this is your best shot. Again, just because I know the comments, I know how you guys, I can read your guys' minds. You're going to say, Thomas, what if they don't have enough money? Or, Thomas, there's no way they can afford these players. I understand. But going off of, the assumption they're going to create some cap space, Howie Roseman's going to do his wizardry, you're going to have about $30 million, and even with the Hurts extension, yes, you can factor that in as well, they can probably afford, if not all 5 of the guys up here, at least 3 of the 5, and that's going to be boom, boom, and then, of course, Kelce, depending on if he stays or goes. If he leaves, then you just slide over here, slide TJ Edwards into that 3rd slot because I do think he is vitally important and will be a very good linebacker, continuing to be, but more so alongside Nakobe Dean in 2023. So, how did I do? Let me know. I'm trying to break this all down for you. I'm going to do so much offseason stuff for you guys. It's going to be crazy. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. I'm trying to give you guys all the info regarding Philadelphia and the National Football League and beyond. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show.